or something. Yes, they are. You go to a PTA meeting one day, you come in next week, you're going to be president. You are. Yes, yeah. So these transferable skills are so important, and they can also go way back to when you were a kid. So the transferable skills are the key to all of this. You have them, now you need to market them. So what you're going to do with my list now, especially any of you who are going for an interview to a part-time job, an internship, I don't know where you are, is you're going to go ahead and create for yourself, you've created 6 or 7 more stories, and then you can relax during the interview. The other thing you can do then is create accomplishments or bullet statements from these stories that are going to go on your resume. And I'm going to let Becky talk about that in a minute because I have seen her slides, so I know she's going to make that transfer for me. So the whole message from me today has been this. You need to know your skills. Once you know them, they do lead to some career direction. Like on this list, I would never mark any of those ones on top there. Never, 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 never. Oh, I can teach. I'd really make that a transferable skill. I've got 3 or 4 on the bottom, and frankly, I've made a career out of about 3 or 4 skills my whole life. Why? Because I took my own advice. I know what my skills are, and I can market them to anybody, and that's what you need to know. So as I wind up here, I know you've got my email address. Please email me questions. You have the postcard. So careerconnection.me is an online learning community, and it is aimed at people between the ages of 15 and 30. You go in, and it's a membership website. You go in and you find all kinds of assessments, all kinds of videos. What I just demonstrated for you in interviewing, I'm on the website doing this. So it's an online learning community. The other thing my team and I have is an online learning community that we put inside organizations so they can recruit, onboard, engage, and retain their millennial help. So that is the other thing we do, and my partners are in the audience. There's Lisa there, and where's Susan? Got there, hi Susan. So if you have any questions of us, I just wanted you to see the team. I want to thank you very much for your attention today, and turn it back over to Emily. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen. Wow, that was really helpful. Jen, you'll be available to talk with us at the networking and discussion portion of our event also, as will her business partners. That was really interesting. I'd like to now introduce our next speaker. Becky Krause of Skyworks Inc. is going to speak with you about your resume, how it is presented, how it is perceived, and what you can do to keep it out of the trash can. So let's welcome Becky. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I know I'm between you and lunch. Actually, I'm not the last one between you and lunch, so I'm happy I get to go second. My name is Becky Krause, and I am so happy to be here today. I think this is one of the most valuable things that anyone in any profession can do, which is help other people, which is probably why I'm in HR. And you can also see that I'm in HR because I say silly things like, stand out as a star. Okay, so I did not plan on going into HR and being a cheerleader. It's not the kind of HR professional I want to be. I went into HR because everything else seemed really boring to me because people are the most interesting things I've ever come across in my entire life. So I got into HR because I loved teaching, and I loved learning, and I love education, and I love it so much that I can tell you as I drove into Lot 5 today, I actually broke out into a cold sweat because I went to Saddleback College 20 years ago. So happy to be home, happy to be here, walk past the dining hall, fond memories. So I'm here to talk to you about being a job applicant. How many of you like looking for a job? It's so great, right? Yeah, okay. Actors always talk about rejection. Let me tell you, you send out resumes and you don't hear back. What does that feel like? Rejection. Okay. So I'm actually going to talk to you today about how not to have to look for a job. I was with my company, my last company, for 16 years. I grew up there. I met Jan Slater there 12 years ago. I was a young pup, and when I met her 12 years ago, I thought, man, I want to be Jan when I grow up. Because Jan just kind of breezed in with her twin, and they were fabulous, and she always looks fabulous, and she had all this knowledge and all these skills, and owned her own company. She was a female entrepreneur. And even 12 years ago, there weren't as many female entrepreneurs, were there? And so I said, I want to be Jan when I grow up, and I've followed her ever since, and here I am following her still. So I was there for 16 years, and I was not looking for a job. I was happy there. I had done a lot there. I had grown a lot. I had acquired a ton of skills, and I had them posted on my LinkedIn profile. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, every single one of you need to have a LinkedIn profile by the end of this week. Because my LinkedIn profile is what allowed me to not have to look for a job. I kept it updated. I told the story of me on my LinkedIn profile, and a recruiter found me and wooed me away with a big fat paycheck. So I'm here to help you get wooed away as well. That's what we're going to cover today, and I'm going to need your help doing it. As a student, your teachers tell you that by the time you graduate, you're going to have the world in your fingertips, don't they? You're going to have skills, you're going to have a degree, you're going to be able to get the money. There are hundreds and thousands of students in this country alone, and not even this country alone. Let me tell you about all the immigration I do. Worldwide, who want to come and work in the United States. So how do you differentiate yourself? How do you take all of the knowledge and skills that you have and truly make them work for you? Because I'll tell you, there's enough work to do in life without having to work even harder at this stuff. So that's why we're here today, is to help you not have to work as hard if you can use these skills and experiences that we talked to you about today. So let me talk to you about what the typical hiring manager and HR professional look and feel like. So I've worked in HR for almost 20 years, and yes, 20 years ago, the internet wasn't quite what it is today. I saw the very first BBS system. If you don't even know what that is, it's because you were born probably after 1982. Bulletin board system, it was the birth of the internet. And so back when I started recruiting, this is what my desk looked like. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of resumes coming in via mail, via facsimile with a thermal paper that curled up. That was super cool. People walking in off the street and dropping off resumes, don't do that. That's not good anymore, okay, I'll tell you why. And so these resumes sat in piles until someone finally gathered the courage to sift through them and get the paper cuts, because that's what happened. And what would happen is if your resume was at the bottom of the pile, it just didn't get looked at. The good news is that the paper is gone today. The bad news is, this is what it looks like now. Have you seen one of these? This is called an applicant tracking system. There are many different versions. This is what recruiters use today. So when you apply for a job, the story of you on your resume goes into a list that looks like this. Right away, what are you thinking?
Resume cyberspace.
What's that?
I call it resume cyberspace.
Resume cyberspace, okay. So now it's just not paper, it's just data floating around, yeah. What else does this look like to you?
It's just the name.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of does not meet criteria. Every morning when I get to work, the first thing I do is I log into my ATS, my applicant tracking system, and I look at who's applied to us. And all I see are a list of names. Okay, that's step number one. Click on the name, up comes their resume. Now, some of the resumes don't look like the other resumes, because some people think they're too cool to actually submit their resume and say, just call me. Yeah, I'm not calling. It's already too hard. Can't do it. Look, I have 40 other names to click through. I'm sure I'll find one that doesn't say, just call me. Okay. So you click on the next one. Resume didn't come through right. They had an upload problem. Oh well, I'm gonna move on to the next one. I'm gonna keep moving on, and I'm gonna look at those resumes for about 5 seconds. 5 seconds, I am not kidding you. I have to get through 50 names. I have 20 open jobs. I have to look at hundreds of resumes in the morning before people start showing up at my desk and start calling me. Those skills that Jan talked about, they need to be at the top. They might be able to be the second level. That's it. If I have to scroll, I'm not scrolling. So we're going to talk about how to build an effective resume so that a recruiter who's working like a dog, like we do, they will see your skills right away, and they will know what you're looking for, and they will know what you're about. Enough so that they mark you as considered. does not meet criteria. So I wanted to show you what an ATS looks like so you know what happens to your resume when you submit online. Because a lot of people don't see this, they don't know it, and they don't understand how important it is to submit your resume properly and to make sure that you're following the protocol. If you're going to try and be cool while submitting your resume, it's not going to work, okay? And you will never be called back. So your resume, it's not just a piece of paper. This piece of paper is so important because it tells the story of you. And I know this is an eye chart. I know the presentations are going to be sent out. I'm just going to give you a couple of high-level bullets from this bad resume, but you'll be able to see the whole thing in its entirety when you get the presentation a little bit later. So the problem with this resume, there's a few problems. Number one, they use a lot of abbreviations and a lot of acronyms. Everyone has acronyms in their life. We think everyone knows what our acronyms are. BYU, everybody knows what BYU is, right? Maybe not. So don't abbreviate, don't use acronyms, spell it out, make it as simple as possible because again, you're submitting a resume to all levels of recruiters, to all levels of hiring managers, with all levels of attention span. So the easier you make it for them to read it, the easier it's going to be for them to want to read it. Because they'll just keep moving on if it's too hard. The other thing that's difficult here is that this person is listed as their first job, Cam's Closet. Does anybody know what Cam's Closet is? Nope. Could be their neighbor's closet. Maybe they were a personal assistant in organized closets. I have no idea. Maybe it's a billion-dollar company that installs custom closets. We don't know. So again, don't assume that people recognize the company you work at or know what it's about. You want to explain it. When we looked at my LinkedIn profile, which we will do in a minute, I don't think you'll actually be able to see it on there, but I hope everyone links in with me. I hate taking parts. Just send me a LinkedIn request. You'll see that I actually explain what each of my companies do. My sweet spot is $1.5 billion technology company. It's very simple. And people like that you can take those transferable skills and that transferable industry experience. So make sure you're explaining where you've come from and what you've done, similar to what Jan talked about. And finally, this individual thought that they listed skills. They wrote skills down here, but then they listed some personality characteristics. I really don't want to see fun and lovable on your resume. Okay? I want to know what you can do for my company. I'll just assume you're already fun and lovable when you come in and meet with me. So that's an example of things you don't want to do. Again, you'll get this presentation. My best advice for your resume is this. Tailor your resume to the specific job for which you're applying. What that means is, I have candidates who will apply into my applicant tracking system and they'll apply for 30 different jobs. They're just spamming us, hoping that someone sees their resume at some point and brings them in. To me, that means they're not interested. They don't know what they want to do, they don't know how they want to contribute, they don't know what they're good at. So be very specific and deliberate about the job you're applying for and make sure that you've at least tailored that initial cover letter, introduction that you give to the company so that they know that you are interested in this job with this company because you have the right skill set. It makes a huge difference. So a quick view of a great resume. Do you see how clean this resume looks? Do you see the clean lines on the sides? Right away, very eye-appealing. This resume is busy because the first tip is a one-page resume. I know people love to list everything. I love when a resume says page 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, 4 of 3. What is that? I don't want to look at 4 of 3, okay? So one-page resume, short, sweet, to the point. There's no bland objective statement at the top of this. I want to contribute in the best possible way to serving my customers. Everybody says that. It means nothing. If you say something specific to, I want to utilize these skills to work on this technology, that's specific to the job. That's what makes the difference. There's resume templates online. If you haven't used one or seen one, I totally recommend you use one. They generally employ tables and other helpful formatting things that keep your resume intact when they come into an ATS, and it doesn't turn out to be something that's unreadable. Short bullets. Short bullets make it so that a recruiter and a hiring manager can read what you're trying to say. We don't need a novel, we don't need long sentences, your English teacher doesn't need to be proud. Just bullets of what you did. Results, 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 and that's what you're going to see in the next few comments here. When people try to tell stories that don't have an ending, as Jan said, it ends up being words on a paper. Customer service skills, qualified, unique. Okay, those are all words everybody can use. What I want to know is what you specifically did. If you weren't there, what would have never happened? So it really does need to be about you and what you've done. Write that on your resume. That's what we want to see. If you're going to put your GPA on your resume, make sure you're specific about what GPA you're using because companies check. If you lie on an application, quote unquote lie, whether it's deliberate or not, this is one of those, it may not be deliberate, but it might look deliberate, you will not get the job. That's one of the easy qualifiers that companies use to just kick a candidate to the curb. So if you're going to use a GPA, are you going to use your overall GPA or are you going to use your major GPA? So either one, whichever one's best. I totally vote for that. Just make sure you specify which GPA you used. Projects, if you worked on specific projects, list those. Any applicable extras, again, it's great that you kayak. I'm glad you ski. Mountain biking is cool. It's not going to help on the job unless I'm at a sports company, okay? So put those applicable extras on there. And then anything else that tells the unique story of you. Phone screening. Has anybody survived a phone screen before? They're horrible, right? Because you know you have like 7 minutes to make a huge impression. Yeah, okay. So I phone screen a lot of candidates. A phone screen is a very easy way to screen out the people that just aren't going to be a good fit. If a recruiter calls you and you were driving on the 405 or the 5 or driving at all, don't answer the phone. Okay? I do not want to phone screen you, afraid I'm going to kill you. Don't do it. Let it go to voicemail. That's what voicemail's for. That's what we expect. When you call the recruiter back, don't just leave a vague, hey, call me back, whatever. Right? You want to make sure that you're giving time windows because recruiters are churning through candidates. So you can always say, I'll be available between 2 and 5, or let me know what time works for you if you give me a call back. So just be specific about narrowing down, connecting with that recruiter. Check your voicemail greeting, please. I cannot tell you how many people I've called where I'm like, whoa, have I called the nightclub or have I called a candidate? Seriously, your email address, your voicemail. This is not time to be like Bunny Love 103. You want to be very specific about who you are and what job you're looking for and make sure you're representing your best professional self. Examples of you, Jan talked about that, experiences, results, and skills. You have to have those stories ready. They might ask you on the phone screen, it may come in the interview, but you're just ready to tell the story of you. And finally, be ready to talk money. A recruiter is always going to ask you this. It's a very easy screen. So when a recruiter says, tell me what salary range you're entertaining, what's the worst answer you can give?
Don't ever say you're flexible, because you're not.
Right, you're really not flexible. You're really not. Don't say anything. That sounds desperate. Don't say I'm open. You know, negotiable, it's a nicer form of, we can talk about it later, flexible. My recommendation is to do your research. The internet has made all of this information at our fingertips. Talk to your HR friends. That's what people use us for. Hey, what is this job paying these days? Have a range. I love candidates who either have a range or say, at my last job I was at this and I'm targeting this. That's fine too. Just have a specific answer. You know what you're worth. And if you don't know what you're worth, you need to know what you're worth. Google yourself. I got the 5-minute call from Emily 7 minutes ago, so I'm going to go quickly here. Google yourself. If you have not Googled yourself, this is not vain. I'm telling you, it's a safety precaution. Because if you're not Googling yourself, recruiters are and hiring managers are. I've seen candidates that are bodybuilders. That's not the image you want to have when they come in to interview with you, I can guarantee you. So you want to know what's out there about you, what pictures people have tagged you in, what blog posts have maybe been wrapped out of some protected site into the public venue. You need to know what the internet is saying about you. So please take time to Google yourself with all the social media that we have available today. And here's my LinkedIn page. I said I was going to talk about this. LinkedIn is the most valuable tool, social media tool, for professionals today. LinkedIn has launched a LinkedIn recruiter application on my page. You can see it at the very top. I have a LinkedIn recruiter seat. I can farm anybody, look for anybody. I search on skills. I search on industry. I search on experience. And then I contact you the way I was contacted August of last year. When I stop looking like my picture, somebody needs to warn me. I never want this to be like a bad dating site. So if you haven't heard of LinkedIn, it's free. You can sign up. You can list your skills, you can tell the story of you. And as you work on your LinkedIn page, that story tells the story of you itself. And you're gonna be very good at telling the story of you, and your LinkedIn page tells it for you. So linkedin.com, huge fan. One last thing. I do not dress like this every day. I get to wear flats, I get to wear jeans, I get to wear sweaters to work. But I did not wear that today because just as you in an interview want to make your best first impression, I wanted to make my best first impression to all of you as well. I'm here representing my company, Skyworks Solutions. We are in an industry, the semiconductor industry, that's been around for decades. That may be your grandfather's company or your grandmother's company, but my company is exploding today because we power everything Wi-Fi. So I'm here to represent my company and to talk to all of you and to tell you the first thing a hiring manager tells me when I ask them how the interview went was what the candidate was wearing. If they are not dressed up, if they are not wearing a suit, if they are not wearing a jacket, if they are not wearing a nice top, the hiring manager always says that to me. So if you feel like the dress code is toning down your general fabulousness, you can be fabulous, but I want you to balance your fabulousness, your individualism with professionalism. Those two things need to go hand in hand. I have a tattoo. Has anybody seen it? No. If I were in my weekend attire, you would see my tattoo. We are not seeing that today. When you're in an interview, cover them up. Trust me. In the end, what I want you to do is to represent your best self. You have very few precious minutes to do that when you're in this race called life and when you're in this race for a job. So use the skills Jan's talked to you about, things that I've talked to you about today. Use your social media to your advantage, the things Linda's going to talk to you about as well. Thank you very much for being here today and for your time.
Thank you so much, Becky. That was incredibly helpful. So I would now like to introduce Linda Duffy of Ethos Human Capital. Linda is a human resource consultant to local, regional, and national companies. She is incredibly